All right. What's up, everyone? I'm gonna wait till some people fill the room. We'll see how many people we'll get today. Um, so it's Randy, it's Chris, it's the views Q&A. I know it takes a minute for people to join us. Chris, how are you?
Doing well. Um, as I said yesterday, I'm down in Tampa. Yesterday was the first game that the Yankees have played in their spring training facility in the regular season. It really didn't feel that different. Um, I think the Rays did a really good job of making Steinbrenner Field feel like home as best as they possibly could. Really, the only like Yankees logos or um, reference of them is out front with the Steinbrenner statue and the monuments in front of the main entrance. They still have a giant Yankee logo where the media and like staff enter, so the fans aren't really seeing that. And then the seats have Yankee logos on it. But other than that, like I think they did a really good job of like making the best out of a pretty shitty situation.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like they've done a really nice job with it. And
Hmm.
it's funny, everybody talks about the dimensions of the field, but nobody mentions like there are no decks, there are no bleachers out in right field and left field. Like it is, the field is the same in many ways, but the building is like nowhere near Yankee Stadium. I mean, it's just like a completely different structure. So it's interesting how that like plays out for the Rays in their home games. And it doesn't, to me, it doesn't really feel like Yankee Stadium, even though like the field dimensions are the same. It's not it's definitely not the same building, obviously, like in a lot of ways. So I also found that interesting, like watching that game unfold. I mean, we see it during spring training, but now that it counts, like the stadium is much different than Yankee Stadium. Obvious being obvious, but it just like kind of stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean, Steinbrenner Field holds around 10,000, and then Yankee Stadium is like 45 ish, 47 ish. So yeah, I mean, like that's a huge difference. They obviously like for the fan experience, they don't have as many food options and drink options as Yankee Stadium, but for a spring training facility, it's really really nice. Ben Rortvedt, who was on the Yankees a couple years ago, actually said, he's had the opportunity now to play in the Grapefruit League and out in Arizona. And he said that out of all the spring training facilities that he's been to, really the only one that he thinks is even slightly better is the Rockies, which was interesting. I would not have expected the Rockies to have a great facility with how they run the organization.
Yeah, yeah, surprising. So for those of you that are watching right now, if you have any questions or comments, you can feel free to start putting them in the comment section. That's why we're here. Um, so yeah, you can just start putting those things in there and we'll start answering questions or responding to comments. We also have our Patreon link in there. Obviously, this is open to everybody, but the podcast goes on 2 times a week. And yeah, we have a $5 tier and a $10 tier. So if you're interested in hearing more of this and hearing Chris's insight and hearing me ramble as a fan, then sign up for the Patreon. It's in the description link. But yeah, we have a couple comments. Fabrice Rainbow. I'm sorry if I mispronounce people's names. Like I'm known for not necessarily knowing how to pronounce everybody's name. So I'm apologizing in advance. Hi guys, are you worried about Bellinger's performance? His statistics don't inspire confidence.
Um, yeah, I mean, he obviously has not started off well at all. Uh, the one thing I would say is he is hitting the ball slightly harder than he was last year. Um, I think he's gotten a little bit unlucky with some of his contact that he's made. It's not like it's not like a Ben Rice Statcast page where he's at the top of the charts, but Bellinger, um, really since 2019 has become more contact oriented than power. So the past couple of years, he's been on the lower end when it comes to hitting the ball hard. This year, he's hitting the ball, at above average rates. So I would expect him to turn around his profile at some point. It hasn't looked the prettiest, obviously, but I'm not extremely worried about what we've seen out of Bellinger so far.
Yeah, I'm not worried either. I think his biggest issue right now is his swing selection. I just think he's swinging at a lot of pitches out of the zone or pitches that he can't really do a lot of damage on. And it's starting to stand out to me that he's swinging at pitches when he's ahead in the count that like are pitches he really shouldn't even be offering at. Like last night, he swung 2-0 at I guess it was a slider that was not a strike, and he rolled over and he got the runner in or whatever. But I just thought that was like poor swing selection. He did that again, and I think most people will remember that at bat in Pittsburgh when he was up 3-0 in the count in extra innings, and then ended up rolling over again. I think he's swung and missed at a lot of high fastballs. He's chasing that a lot. I think a lot of it with Bellinger right now is just swing selection and not really controlling the zone, which, I mean, I think he's good enough and a well-accomplished player to like be able to have better discipline. But I think once he starts, swinging at strikes that he can drive and like really do damage on and impact the baseball, I think he'll be fine. I mean, it's been frustrating to watch because he's been in multiple situations where he can drive in runs and he's not really doing it. But I don't see anything that's really alarming. You mentioned like some of the metrics. I think a lot of it is just controlling his zone better, especially when he's ahead in the count. Like some of these swing choices, I'm like, what are you swinging at? Like that's, but I think that's correctable and he'll make an adjustment and he'll be all right. So good question though. Adams YouTubes. How do you think the Yankees will keep getting Rice at bats once Big G is back?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a big question that is hovering over the team right now. What I will say is they have a very long way to go before they have to figure that out. They could platoon Goldschmidt and Rice if they wanted to. They can cycle through the DH spot. Stanton's not going to play every single day, as we've known over these past few years. Someone else may get hurt. I think it's a good problem to have when you have more than the allotted spots available of getting good players at bats. I think all of this always figures itself out. So that's how I would answer this question. And again, Stanton's not going to be back anytime soon. He still has to go through a full spring training, which is, roughly 6 weeks, maybe a little less because he's a DH only. So he doesn't have to play the field, but we're still looking at several weeks until they have to figure this out. But if Rice is hitting the way he is, he's going to get at bats, whether that's, being a first baseman a couple times a week, being the backup catcher. You can send JC Escar back down to the minors, and then Rice could be Austin Wells' backup. I don't think that it's going to be as big of a deal as I think some people are making it out to be. I think there are plenty of at-bats to go around.
I also think you have a manager that's like the matchup king at this point. Like, he's trying to look to use his personnel in as many different situations and scenarios that he thinks will give them the best advantage. So I think I mean this as a compliment to Boone. Like, I think he is creative, and I think he actually thinks some of these things through. And I think him having even more weapons at his disposal will allow him to like even lean into that more. So I'm not saying that this is Adam's stance, but I think sometimes when people ask this question about Ben Rice getting at bats, there's a little bit of concern that, all of a sudden the organization or the team or Boone is going to turn their back on Rice and just like sit down a young, good hitter. I think that it's quite the opposite. I think they're going to look to try to get as many ways to get him in there as possible. And they have a manager that likes to mix and match and move the lineup around. And I mean, he's had so many different lineups already. I don't think it'll be difficult for him to figure out ways to get Rice at bats. If he keeps hitting, it's just to me is rather obvious and common sense that he'll just keep getting at bats. He might not play every single day, but I think it'll just be a situation where a lot of people will just have to rotate and deal with it. Like, to me, if you can get closer to the Dodgers where you got to start figuring out who's going to play on what day because they're all good, and it helps the bench, which is, one of the biggest issues with this team roster wise. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing because the more depth for this team, the better. So, I think they'll figure it out. Drew Clugs, not sure if you guys have talked about it yet. Do you see Jazz getting a suspension for his comments or just a fine? First off, before we even get into this, I just want to say shout out to Jazz for running right to his phone after looking at the call and like tweeting it out. He's definitely one of us, and I appreciate that. I think he's endeared himself to the fan base even more after doing that. So shout out to Jazz for tweeting right away.
I just knew that he was going to go right on his phone and say something.
Yeah.
That was like, if we were betting, that had like minus 1,000 odds.
Yeah, exactly.
As for him getting suspended or fined, he's certainly going to get fined. I think the question is whether or not the league is going to come down on him using his phone. That is a violation. There are no separate rules, even though he's was ejected and was out of the game. He is on the active roster. He's not on the injured list. So this is not like, if Stanton, he's not even on social media really, but if Stanton was like tweeting during the game, he's not on the roster. Jazz is on the roster. So, this is something that Major League Baseball has been trying to crack down on over these past few years, especially with some of the, I guess, quote unquote scandals of just, teams using electronic devices. So it's possible that he could get suspended. I know I reached out to the league last night. They said that they were investigating it. I don't know if they'll have an answer by the start of the game tonight, but, it's certainly possible that he gets, a 1 game or 2 game suspension. I don't know. All I can say is I know the league is looking into it right now.
I think the league should look into their shitty umpires and figuring out a way to correct that larger issue than a baseball player tweeting from the locker room after he's been kicked out, and he's absolutely right about what he's tweeting about. I mean,
the 3-2 call was wrong, and then his 2-2 call
was also wrong.
Because Jazz should have struck out on the 2-2 count.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
the makeup call.
Right, but agreed, it absolutely was. But like, the umpires should not be in the business of makeup calls. Like, you blew the call, you blew 2 calls. Yep. So it's like, how many are you gonna like have another makeup call because you had that makeup call? Like, when does your terrible bullshit come to an end? Also, that guy was terrible all night. So it's like he was bad for both sides. Like, the Yankees benefited from some calls and the Rays benefited from some calls. But like, if we're gonna, this is my opportunity to talk shit about umpires. If anybody hasn't noticed, if you're gonna investigate Jazz, investigate the shitty umpire. Like, what are we doing here? That was very obviously a makeup call, which should not happen. I know that it happens more times than we think. But like, you can't be that obvious with the makeup call. Like, you have to do that in another at bat, not the one that's like 10 feet off the ground and like way off the plate. Like, you have to make it less obvious. So investigate everybody. That's my thoughts on it. Just waste resources on investigating the whole thing. Ansel Graham, I think, is also known as Ansel G. Sup, guys? You guys mentioned Goldschmidt's lack of pop so far. Is he trying to have a more contact approach, or is this just age?
That I don't know. I haven't asked him. Boone hasn't said anything about him changing his approach. I think it's if this is not an approach, I would be concerned long term. He is a professional hitter. Like, he is a really good baseball player who may end up in the Hall of Fame one day. He's a really, really good talent. I thought it was an underrated moment of the game. I forget what inning it was, but Goldschmidt like bounced into a ground out on the right side, runners on first and second. So both runners moved up, second and third. Forgot who had the hit right after him, but 2 runs scored, and that was a big moment of the game.
Ben Rice.
That was Ben Rice. Okay. Yeah. So like that was a productive out, and I thought he was trying to hit it to the right side to move the runners over. But yeah, I think everybody who is loving Goldschmidt right now and the level of production, like obviously, like you should certainly be happy with the production that Goldschmidt has gotten. I've said it before. I'll continue saying it until I see otherwise. But I would be concerned about what he might be long term over the course of the season, just because his metrics are not really that great under the hood. Randy, we've talked about this. Like he's not really driving the ball all that much. So I would certainly be interested in talking to Paul if this is a strategy of his that he is turning into Anthony Volpe from 2024 without the speed.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that is the right strategy for Paul.
Yeah, I don't know what this is either. I'm not going to pretend to know what this is. I'm just going off of what I see. I would feel better personally if I saw him driving the ball more. I mean, I know that the metrics are saying things, and I've had conversations with people where they pick some metrics that show that he's, making quality contact. And then I could point out other ones where like the contact's not as great or he's not hitting it as hard. I mean, I feel like it's still early enough where you can make a case for either side and it would be valid. And I would definitely take the production, but just watching the games, I would like to see him drive the ball more. Like it's April 18th and the way that other guys are hitting and the way that the offense is clicking, I'd like to see like more than one home run or at least a ball more than just one ball outside of the Giants game where he got robbed in right field. I like to see some balls that like could be threats of a home run or balls in the gap, not just necessarily like down the line that go over the third baseman or first baseman's head. So for me, I just like to see him drive the ball more, and then I would feel a little bit more confident. That's the thing that I think is just like lacking right now. And we talked about this on the podcast, and you can join the Patreon if you're interested. The link is in our description. But some people are starting to like reference him to Luis Arraez, and it's like, yeah, I'm not sure that that's the comparison you want to make to a slugging former MVP that is also 38 years old. I'm not sure that that's the most encouraging thing at this stage of his career. So I would definitely take the production. I'm not going to complain. I agree that he's a professional hitter. I think he's made a difference. But if we're looking at it long term, I'd like to see a couple of things to make me feel better that, he could be a viable source of production throughout the season. Marty Nolan's. I think we've covered that already. What happens when Stanton gets back regarding Rice at bats? I think we just answered that one. Fact 668. Super hyped to catch you guys live. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Haven't listened to the latest episode yet, but can we please get a recurring Trent's Tanks segment where Randy gets to shout out Trent Grisham? I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I am very proud to lead the Trent Grisham Yankees fan bandwagon. I've been talking him up since last year when everybody was absolutely shitting on him in April, and the entire Yankees community and fandom hated Trent Grisham. And now he's done a 180. If you are a Manchester United fan, and it's similar to the match that we saw yesterday where it looked like Manchester United was dead and buried, and then it came back with like 10 minutes left and won the match. That is Trent Grisham's career with the Yankees so far. Dead and buried, and now everybody wants him to play. And everybody wants to be the manager to get Trent Grisham in there, and it makes me happy. I have nothing else to say about it. I'm happy he's doing well. I'm happy that he's more aggressive with his swings in terms of when he swings in the count. I don't know how long this is going to last, but I think he's a good player, and I'm happy he's playing well.
I also want let the record be known that both you and I were supporting Grisham last year, saying that he should be playing
Yes.
over Verdugo, and also we both were saying that Ben Rice should be getting more at bats and probably should have been playing over Anthony Rizzo last year, even though Rice was struggling a little bit with the strikeouts. All of the metrics said like this player that we're seeing now could be the player he could be if he was given more of a runway. But, the Yankees needed to see more out of Anthony Rizzo when he was completely washed. So it is what it is.
And Alex Verdugo, and I'm not falling for the bait. I'm not going to do the Alex Verdugo rant today. I did one yesterday. I do one a week.
No, two a week. 2 a week.
2 a week. Sorry, I already hit my quota. I also, just before we move on, I'm very happy that Aaron Boone acknowledged publicly that he should have played Trent Grisham more. That just felt obvious. If you weren't going to bring up Dominguez, it made no sense to not use Trent Grisham more. I still don't understand it, but I'm happy he acknowledged that should have happened and that was a mistake on his part. So I'm happy that that's been addressed, because we were definitely talking about it for a while and it never happened. It was bizarre. Rufus Gray, do you think Ben Rice is a long-term fit at first base?
Defensively, I don't know. I thought he looked fine last year. It's a new position for him. I just need to see more out of him defensively to know if that could be a position for him. The one thing I will say is if he's hitting like this, then who gives a shit about if his defense is really good. Goldschmidt has not looked good defensively. He's made several plays where it's like, what is going on here? The one last night, I think it was in the second inning. The high chopper, and I don't know if there was miscommunication between him and Warren, but that play kind of bled into Warren not being able to get out of the second inning. I think he had 38 pitches in the second, and Boone said last night that there was just way too many pitches. He wasn't going to continue having him throw that many pitches. It wasn't that he didn't like what he was seeing. Obviously, his command wasn't that great, but if you're going to be approaching 40 plus pitches in an inning, you're probably going to have to go, especially with this being so early in the season. But yeah, as for Rice, if he's going to hit like this, then he certainly can, stand at first base and be the long-term solution. But, again, it's still early. I certainly think that Rice can be a 800 plus hitter, and if he is going to be that, then you have to figure out where he can play in 26 and beyond.
You mean 800 OPS type player?
Yeah, I think he can. I mean, I don't think he's going to be 1,000 plus OPS, which he is right now. I mean, he could be. I would just be surprised about that. That's superstar level. I don't know if Rice is going to be a superstar, but I certainly think he has the talent and the skills to finish the season with an 800 plus OPS.
Yeah, I agree. Drew Klug's belly just needs to pull the ball more. I think he will once he just swings at better pitches. And so, Graham, how does insurance on contracts work? I know the Yankees get money back on Cole's deal this year. It's something I had not heard of up until the Cole injury.
So teams can take out insurance policies on long-term contracts. So Cole, Judge, I believe they have one on Rodon, Fried. So if a player misses the entire season, they get a percentage back of their contract. I believe for Cole, it's 70% of his $36 million salary. And, he's still counting against the luxury tax, but, the Yankees, Hal Steinbrenner, does receive a portion of his contract back. So that's how it works. Not every player has an insurance policy on them.
Yeah, and I think the important detail to point out here is it does not alleviate the luxury tax hit. The luxury tax hit is the luxury tax hit. It's just the Yankees get some of their money back for their pockets, I guess. But the luxury tax bill does not drop because they're getting insurance. Fabrice, Jazz deleted the post. That's terrible to read. Just keep it up there at this point. We all saw it.
I mean, he definitely have someone told him to delete
100%. I think the person's name is Jason Zilla. Or that's the person that had a conversation with him. Rufus Gray, are you concerned about Jazz becoming a one-dimensional hitter, high home runs, high K, low average?
Yeah, I mean, I saw this last night, but half of his hits have been home runs. Obviously, that's going to change at some point. He's not going to finish the year with like 60 hits and 30 home runs. So at some point, it's going to change. We've talked about this. Like, it's clear that he is trying to just destroy the cover off the baseball, and his mechanics are a little out of sync right now. I'm going to assume that it's going to change at some point, but it should be noted too that for his career, Jazz is just a slightly above average major league hitter. The stretch that we saw this past season after he got traded from Miami was like the best that Jazz has performed over that length of time. If they can get that hitter, that's a really valuable player to have, especially in the middle of your lineup. But as of now, I'm not going to be that concerned about just what he is doing so far, because I believe it's going to change at some point.
Yeah, I agree. And we spoke about this on the podcast, I think on Monday. It feels a little bit like Jazz is chasing results a little bit. It's almost like his early success, hitting some home runs, has kind of worked against him a little bit. It just looks like he's hunting for home runs a lot, and the swing is big. The follow through is like super big. It feels like he's just in one of those modes. And you had mentioned speaking with people in the Marlins organization when they talked about Jazz, like he has stretches where he chases results. It feels like he's one of those in one of those stretches right now, and I think he'll get out of it. But yeah, I think his biggest attributes are speed and power. So if you're a power-based guy, you're going to have stretches where, you're going to strike out a lot and you're not really going to be a big average guy. But, I also believe that will change. And when he gets on base a little bit more, we'll see more of the dynamic offensive impact of Jazz.
One of the things, too, that someone with the Marlins had told me, and it was the first thing I thought of last night after he got ejected, but Jazz gets in these moments where he thinks like the umpires are against him, and he just like loses all of his cool, and it like bleeds into like how he performs. So like that was on full display last night. It's like I understand like getting upset, but like you do have to, do a better job of like controlling yourself and not letting it affect how you perform, or if you're hurting the team. Like obviously last night, they were winning the game, but if it's a big game and like they lose one of their more important players and you have to replace him with Peraza, Peraza made that nice play in the ninth inning, but that's a huge drop off. Like you have to be more cognizant of your emotions and not letting it bleed into you possibly getting ejected. Like let Boone get ejected if like that's something that like needs to happen. Like let him get ejected because it's not going to affect the team on the field.
I also thought it was a little weird that he just kept going with it. Like he said his piece, we knew it was a bad call, but I felt like he was going to stop, and then I guess whatever the umpire said to him, like just kind of agitated him even more. So I was a little surprised that he ended up getting like he kept going to the point where he was going to get ejected. So yeah, I think what he said after the game was mature and smart and spot on. Like he had an issue with it. It was the wrong call, but he also needs to be better at like controlling his emotions. I think the way that he just kind of looked at the entire situation was the right one. And I mean, I don't think he's going to I don't think it'll be a problem moving forward. I think he had like the right perspective on it.
Yeah, for sure. And you're also just not going to win the battle against the umpires.
Right. Because they suck. And
Yeah, I mean, like
they'll never admit it.
They have the power in that situation. You're just not going to win the battle.
Right. Hawkeye 420. Are the Yankees calling someone up since Warren didn't last 2 innings?
Don't know yet. I think the bullpen is in a fine spot.
Yeah. They didn't even use Weaver last night. I think Yarbrough he started off kind of shaky, but I think he saved them a little bit. All right. Marty Nolan, Chris, can you give us a vibe check on the clubhouse this year compared to last? MLB is so bad with this walled garden bullshit that you never get a feel for the team aside from the glimpses on the field.
I think it's too early to really know like how the clubhouse is. I think it's pretty similar to what it was last year. I think everybody gets along well. Full season of Jazz. He's kind of like the life of the clubhouse. Everybody loves Jazz in the clubhouse. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very similar to what it was last year. I mean, again, it's early. They're playing pretty well. So we'll see how it looks over the course of the next couple months. But so far, I don't see anything off with the clubhouse.
You mean they still like each other after Juan Soto left? They don't hate each other.
Like each other after Juan Soto left.
It's amazing, like that people can move on from Juan Soto. Didn't think that could happen according to the fan base and that other borough. Let's see here. Hawkeye 420. Cody Bellinger also hasn't hit a home run since Nestor. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's got to get going. I think we all agree with that. It's funny that the two big additions to the lineup are not nearly as productive power-wise as like Ben Rice and some of these other guys, the young guys who are basically like deep in the lineup. Pretty interesting.
Well, Hal Steinbrenner did say that Cody Bellinger and Paul Goldschmidt would, rival Juan Soto's production. So we'll see if that happens. So far, they are because Soto is hitting 220.
Yeah, and the fan is having issues with him apparently, and it's only April 18th. So if you had that on your bingo card, you won.
Well, I think everybody had that on their bingo card. That was the free.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn Kirshner, father of one Chris Kirshner. Who is your new Verdugo, Rodon or Stroman, Brandy? And your dad says hi. Neither one. Verdugo is in the Tyler Wade category for me. I hate Tyler Wade. I hate Alex Verdugo. I hate Eduardo Nunez. So I need one more player to be on my Mount Rushmore of Yankees players that I absolutely despise. It's not personal. It's just a sports hate. Tyler Wade and Verdugo and Nunez have never done anything to me. I just despise them as baseball players. I actually saw Tyler Wade in a Padres game the other day, and I almost like broke my television. Can't stand that guy. He's trash. Like I don't have a guy yet. There isn't Rodon. Rodon I'm frustrated with because I think he should be better. And Stroman is just, he's washed. Like, I can't be mad at him.
Now that Judge is the captain of Team USA, Tyler Wade might be your starting shortstop in the 2026 WBC.
Yeah, and Verdugo will be your cleanup.
Right behind.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
And Rizzo's playing first base.
And his dog will play short third base or something.
Yeah, Penny are going to be your middle infielders actually.
Yeah, it might be the starter. Rufus Gray, on God, y'all were saying Trent over Verdugo last year. See, we definitely did. Finchinator, have a great weekend, guys. You too. Appreciate it. Justin Sanchez, best podcast in town. Thank you very much. How do y'all feel about the AL? How the AL is shaping up despite it being early? Is Boston still the number one challenge to the Yankees winning the AL East?
Well, I mean, we had said that the AL was down going into the season. To 3 weeks into the season, I think that is still my assessment of the American League. Um, I'm not really impressed with like any team in the American League so far. Um, I think the majority of the good teams in the sport are in the National League, which obviously is beneficial for the Yankees. Um, as far as the Red Sox being the number one challenger, I still feel that way. The Red Sox have had a few injuries. Devers obviously started slow for Boston. I still think over the course of the season, um, I would be surprised if the Red Sox were not near the top of the division and battling the Yankees for supremacy in the AL East. I think Toronto definitely deserves credit with how they've started so far. I thought that they would not be as good as they've started. I'm not sure if that's going to continue. But I do think they deserve credit with how they've started so far. I think they've been one of the surprise teams in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be Boston. I don't know. I mean, I don't really buy a lot of these teams. I'm with you. I'm not really impressed with anybody. I still think in the American League in general, the biggest threat is Texas. If they can get their pitching straightened out. I think Boston's good. I think they were overhyped though. I guess people were just like stretching to find teams that could be competitive in the AL, and a lot of people landed on Boston. I think Boston has very clear flaws that were there over the winter. I think they're still there. The Yankees, just like the Yankees. So, I mean, I guess if you had to pick,
have flaws, all of them.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just I just think some teams were like overhyped for whatever reason. And I think Boston's one of them. I think they'll be competitive. It'll be a race. But I'll just keep saying, if the Yankees can address their rotation at some point, I think they're the best team in the league, in the American League. To me, that's the line of demarcation. It's kind of like how the Orioles were last year. If the Orioles really addressed their starting pitching last year, I think they would have made a much better case to be a bigger threat in the American League. They didn't do it. I hope the Yankees are able to do that, because really the make or break for this team this year is the rotation. And if they can really address the rotation, I think they're still better than everybody. That's my feeling, but we'll see what happens. Hawkeye 420, are we confident Belly will be better, or is this just who he is now? 2023 seems to be an anomaly. I mean, first of all, Bellinger won an MVP, so 2023 is not an anomaly. I mean, he literally won an MVP a couple years ago. So, I just think, again, like he's just not swinging at strikes. I mean, I don't think there's anything that's alarming or like something where you feel like the wheels are going to fall off. I don't think he's having the best at bats. I mean, sometimes I think it's that simple. I don't have any concerns about Bellinger. I think he's just off to a slow start. All right. Harold LaRoe. Not sure if you guys talked about this, but what do you make of all of Soto continuing to talk about the Judge and about Aaron Judge and the Yankees?
Subscribe to the Patreon. We talked about it yesterday.
It's a good answer. In short, but yeah, subscribe. We get into it. That's a good way to plug the podcast. Ansel Graham. If Jazz hits 30 homers and has a 320 on base, I think I'll take it considering his career averages.
Yeah. Very fair point. Yeah, for sure. I mean, his on base is like 270 right now, which is obviously very, very low. Again, I assume that he is going to, at some point, stop trying to hit the ball 500 feet and stay within himself. When he does that, I think he should have better results because he has natural power. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but like he has really, really good bat speed, and he can hit the ball hard. So once he understands that, I think he's going to be much better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Jazz is here to be an on-base merchant. I think he's here to drive the ball, and when he does get on base, like just kind of cause havoc on the base path. So I think that's who he is. That's ultimately his profile. So I would agree. Hawkeye 420 regarding Jazz. Lots of Jazz questions. Isn't that what happened last year? He started off hitting bombs with the Yankees in 2024 and then kind of struggled into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. He
Yeah.
had like 5 homers in the first like week. I know he went crazy in that Philly series.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought he was great until the playoffs. I mean, if we're being honest here about the World Series, not to bring up old wounds for people, but there are like multiple at bats throughout the entire series where if one or two guys get a hit, they win the World Series. And Jazz is one of them. Like everybody wants to talk about game 5 and the 5th inning and all those things. Jazz had the bases loaded. It could have ended the game essentially and really fucked the Dodgers pitching up if he just gets a hit with the bases loaded. And if he does that, that game's over because Roberts has nowhere to go pitching wise. Like he's basically going to run out of pitchers because he has to still get through that inning and then go through the rest of the game. And it just was like there were so many at bats where like guys had a chance to just end the game and none of them came through. Verdugo, the same thing. I think Jazz had another at bat in another game in a series where he could have come through and gotten a hit. Judge multiple times. You know, like I do. I mean, we're way ahead of ourselves, but I do think that it's fair for people to continue to question what this offense will do in the playoffs when it matters because of like past performance. Now, I'm not going to call people playoff chokers and all that stuff, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid thing to say about Jazz. Like he had a great second half with them, but then in the playoffs, kind of fell off, and he was talking shit and still didn't like do anything. So, I mean, I think it's valid to say, you know, yeah, you did all of this, but like when are you going to do it in the playoffs? I mean, that's the standard here. So I think it's fair to bring that up.
I mean, they should have won game 1.
Yeah,
They had many opportunities to chase Flaherty, and they didn't.
and they didn't.
The first inning, they failed to capitalize in that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's sorry to bring up old wounds for people, but I mean, just in terms of just talking about the playoffs and guys' performances now and in the playoffs, I mean, I think it's totally fair. Like they could have won the World Series outside of like the 5th inning of game 5. Like I think that got way too much attention and didn't pay attention to like what actually happened the rest of the series. Like if they hit, the series is over.
The one thing that I never understood about that is the Yankees are down in the series 3-1. Like they're not supposed to win the series at that point.
Right.
And I understand like it's easy and low-hanging fruit to capitalize on shitting on the Yankees, but like they're already down 3-1.
Right.
So if they win that game, are we really expecting them to go to LA at this point and win 2 games in that environment? Like I wouldn't have thought so. Like even if they ended up closing out game 5 and they won that game, they're still down 3-2. And Rodon is going to have to pitch too in one of those games. I think he would have pitched game 7 if I'm not mistaken. Like are we expecting Rodon to go into Los Angeles and help the Yankees win a game 7? Like I don't know. I just think like it certainly got a lot of attention. I know a lot of people were saying like that's how the Yankees played all year. Well, I watched every single game that the Yankees played last year. I still think it was totally overblown. I'm always going to feel that way. Like I understand that the Yankees didn't play well in the World Series, but it wasn't like they were playing like that in every single game last year.
Yeah, and again, if they hit, they win the World Series. To me, that was the difference. Like, and I mean hit when it mattered. Like in those situations, they ended up hitting more home runs than the Dodgers and blah, blah, blah. People do that comparison, but like, you know what I'm talking about. Like there were multiple times just driving runs to like get ahead or extend the lead and they didn't do it. So I think that's more to do with it than the 5th inning. So we just went on a tangent, hurting everybody's feelings. Sorry about that. Glenn, do you think in the next 2 years they try Judge at first base?
I mean, at some point they probably will. I think it's probably too early to put Judge at first base, but he's a really good right fielder right now. I mean, he would certainly solve their long-term problem at first base for sure. Let's say they sign Kyle Tucker in the offseason. I know the Cubs are trying to extend him, but you can have Tucker in right field, which is where he plays. So I'm going to expect at some point Judge will move there. I don't know if it'll happen in the next 2 years though.
Judge is incredible. I mean, I hope people, myself included, like really appreciate what this dude is doing. Like this is like otherworldly. It's crazy. So, final thoughts before we get out of here.
I think Rodon is on the mound tonight, right?
Yep.
We said it on yesterday's episode, but this is a good test for him. Tampa's lineup is good. I can't believe Tampa lost that game last night. It felt like they should have been up 7-1 in like the second inning. I think they had 11 base runners through 2 1/3 innings last night, and they just did not capitalize. Like they blew an opportunity to win the opening game last night. But yeah, I think this is a big test for Rodon. He's obviously struggled a little bit. Boone is going to say that it's only been a couple of pitches here and there, but his walks have been a major issue, and it's led to him being in bad spots. And the opposing teams have taken advantage of those bad spots. So he needs to limit those situations because it's not just one pitch that is ruining him. Like he needs to cut out the walks. And he has a good test in front of him tonight with the Tampa team that, can hit the ball out of the park.
All right, we'll take one more question before we get out of here. Marty Nolan, thoughts on the Yankees going after Murakami?
I don't think it's going to happen. I think if they were to, he at this point he's basically a first baseman. I think Rice, if he continues this way, is a better option to have as your first baseman. And also Murakami has some issues in Japan. Like his contact rates are not that great. He wouldn't be someone that I would target. I know the Yankees have scouted him, but if Rice is going to continue playing this way, they should focus on Rice.
I agree. All right, my final thought is subscribe to the Patreon. It's in the description. We hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back next week, same time, same place. Thank you, everybody, for checking us out. We greatly appreciate it. We hope you enjoy your weekend. We hope you enjoy the Yankees hopefully winning some more games. If you're a Knicks fan, good luck. I'm not a Knicks fan, so I hope you guys are out of here as quickly as possible. Go Detroit. I thought I would never say that, but I had to end on that note talking shit about the Knicks. So yeah, everybody enjoy your weekend. I think the weather's going to be nice in New York, so go enjoy it, and we will speak to you all next week.